Could a president who ordered SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival who was not impeached, would he be subject to criminal prosecution?
If he were impeached and convicted first. And
so your answer is no.
All right, friends, brace yourselves. Earlier today, Donald Trump and his attorneys appeared in a DC Appellate Court on the matter of Trump's claims of presidential immunity, which go to the heart of his various legal troubles. But as we predicted, Trump and his attorneys literally argued before the three-judge panel that Donald Trump is entitled to absolute lifetime presidential immunity, even if he murdered his political opponents in his first term, or, hypothetically, murders them in a second term, like the one he's currently seeking. And we have the shocking audio to prove it. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert buttons before you go. I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, friends, I have several clips to play. I'm going to warn you, though, there's no video. It's just audio. The court doesn't allow video. You're going to hear like 3 or 4 voices. 3 of them are 3 female judges on the DC Appellate Court, and the male voice is John Sauer, Trump's attorney. We have 3 clips. This is actually 4, but the 3 of them are from this trial. And this is the most crazy one. I want you to pay close attention because these people are saying that Donald Trump is entitled to a blank check of absolute legal immunity. And so one of the judges says, okay, let's test that, and gives Trump's attorneys one of the craziest hypotheticals you can imagine. And it's insane.
Under Clinton against Jones, he'd be subject to prosecution for that so long as he's not in office, but as long as he's officially.
Could a president order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival? That's an official act in order to SEAL Team 6?
He would have to be and would speedily be, impeached and convicted before the criminal prosecution.
What if he weren't? There would be no criminal prosecution, no criminal liability for that?
Chief Justice's opinion in Marbury against Madison and our constitutional tradition and the plain language of the impeachment judgment clause all clearly presuppose that what the founders were concerned about was not.
I asked you a yes or no question. Could a president who ordered SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival who was not impeached, would he be subject to criminal prosecution?
If he were impeached and convicted first. And
so your answer is no.
My answer is qualified yes. There's a political process that would have to occur under the structure of our Constitution.
So Trump's attorneys are graciously allowing for the possible window. Like, listen, yes, we're saying he's God King and entitled to absolute immunity. But I tell you what, if you impeach and convict him first, then he could be stripped of his God King privilege and just made a president again. Well, there are a couple of problems with that. Number one, you need a majority in the House of Representatives to impeach and a supermajority of 67 senators to convict. Multiple officers, including multiple presidents, have been impeached. None, at least in terms of presidents, have been successfully convicted. That's how hard it is, number one. Number two, what if the president, I don't know, sees impeachment coming? He's like, you know what, if I do this criminal thing, like murder my political opponents, I'll be impeached and potentially even convicted, even in these hyper-partisan times. So he murders the senators in question, or enough of them, to avoid a successful conviction. What about that? Well, then there could be no impeachment, which means under John Sauer's logic, Donald Trump or any president who does that would just be given a blank check. They could leave office if they choose to do so, and the law couldn't touch them. That's another problem. The third problem, and this clip is about to show it, is Trump's attorneys seem to be making contradictory arguments, because back in 2021, after the January 6th insurrection, when Donald Trump was impeached, Senate Republicans delayed the trial so that Trump would be out of office by the time of the trial. And then they turned around and said, listen, Trump did some really bad stuff, but he's a former president. You can't impeach a former president. They have to be in office. And then when Democrats were like, okay, but if he did something wrong and you all agree that he did, what option do we have? Republicans and Trump's attorneys defending him in the impeachment trial said, well, you can't impeach him, but now that he's a former president, you can go after him in court. You can hold him criminally accountable if you think he broke the law. And now, of course, they're saying something different, and the judge exposes that.
This country to which no former officer is immune. It did not say there could never be raised an immunity defense. It said criminal process can go forward.
There's a quote in the congressional record in which your client said through counsel, no former office holder is immune from investigation and prosecution.
Investigation is what there's no meaning to. Well, that may be true of subordinate officers, but as to the principal officer, the president, he is immune unless he is impeached and convicted. Again, it comes back to the point we made.
He was president at the time, and his position was that no former office holder is immune. And in fact, the argument was there's no need to vote for impeachment because we have this backstop, which is criminal prosecution. And it seems that many senators relied on that in voting to acquit.
I realize in speculation. I've said it, I think, statement. And what I think the court, I think, lacks the ability to intuit what motivated senators' votes in the impeachment process. What the Constitution says is you must be impeached.
I think the question that Judge Henderson was asking you was, you took the position, or your client did, during the impeachment proceedings, that there would be an option for criminal prosecution later, and it's in the congressional record. And I guess the question is, what has changed, or why have you changed your position?
And the correct answer is, well, because it's convenient, because we're unprincipled, because we're not obligated to be consistent. You see what I'm saying? At one point in time, they're like, listen, you can't impeach, you need to prosecute. And you can do that without impeaching first, because you can't impeach first because he's out of office. Then when they try to avail themselves of that option and say, okay, well, since we can't impeach a former president, we've got to criminally prosecute if we think he broke the law. Now we're going to criminally prosecute. And the same client and the same attorney is like, whoa, hang on, wait a minute. No, you can't prosecute either. And that's the other thing. What if we don't find out about the impeachable offense until after the president in question leaves office? So you don't even have an option to impeach under their logic, because again, you can only impeach while they're in office. Then I guess they just get away with it. There's so many ways this doesn't work. It's absolutely insane. But here they are trying to make the case. Third clip I want to play. A judge points out another weakness, another paradox in Trump's arguments.
I think it's paradoxical to say that his constitutional duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed allows him to violate criminal laws. Now, we're at the motion to dismiss stage. The government has charged the specific criminal laws. We have to assume they're true.
I mean, my response to that, I think, would be to emphasize what Chief Justice Marshall said in Marbury, which is that they can never be examined by courts. That naturally includes a criminal proceeding.
And so there, I mean, after exposing that paradox, Trump's attorney says at the end, well, like, listen, Chief Justice a long time ago said that really the courts can't review presidential decisions. And that obviously means criminal prosecution. So again, I just really want to recap this. You have to impeach, but you can only impeach while they're president. If you don't find out about the crime until after the fact, you're out of luck. Also, if the president sees impeachment coming and he wants to take the drastic step of potentially murdering, a sufficient number of lawmakers to prevent either the impeachment or the conviction or both, well, then he wouldn't be able to be impeached. And that means no matter what happens, he can't be criminally prosecuted. And by the way, we're just going to change our argument whenever it's convenient anyway. It is a weird, cultish blank check meant for Donald Trump that is insane. One other point about the impeachment thing that I want to bring up, just to pick on some Republicans here. This assumes, by the way, that Republicans would be willing to impeach Trump in a second term or any Republican president if they were to ever do the crazy things and the hypotheticals that the judge offered. We actually have no reason to believe that, because Republicans have shown absolutely no willingness to hold Donald Trump or other Republicans accountable. And I want to remind you of what an alleged moderate Republican, Susan Collins of Maine, said during one of Donald Trump's impeachments. Even though she said he did wrongdoing, she was going to vote to acquit him anyway. And here was her reason.
Article 1 alleges the president, quote, will remain a threat to national security and the Constitution if allowed to remain in office. Are you confident that the president won't seek foreign assistance again?
I believe that the president has learned from this case.
What do you believe the president has learned?
The president has been impeached. That's a pretty big lesson.
Yeah, he's been impeached. I mean, that's a big deal. As somebody who's capable of self-reflection and introspection, of course, they've learned their lesson. We don't need to go ahead and convict. Sure, he was impeached twice, but listen, I mean, he certainly wouldn't want to go through it a third time, right? So even if Donald Trump is reelected, it's not like he's going to commit some sort of impeachable offense a third time, right? Because if he didn't learn his lesson the first time, he definitely learned it the second time, right? Because what kind of maniac wouldn't learn their lessons? Absolute moral cowardice from the Republican Party. They don't deserve the benefit of the doubt, and we shouldn't bank our constitutional republic on the idea that they'll do the right thing in these hypotheticals when they fail this time and time and time and time and time again with other impeachable offenses, be it Nixon, be it Trump twice, be it whatever. One other thing I want to point out, there was a recent poll conducted by YouGov, and at least on paper, the results are optimistic, right? Because nearly two thirds of the country says Trump shouldn't have immunity for actions he took while president. That's good, right? That's really good. It's not 50-50. It's not 51-49. But that does mean 1/3 of this country, 1/3 believes that Donald Trump is God King and is entitled to a blank check and can just do whatever he wants. That's dangerous because you have Donald Trump believing this. You have the Republican Party believing this, or at least not being willing to condemn it. You have the United States Supreme Court, which has a 6-3 conservative supermajority. They may side with Trump on this. You have Republican control of state legislatures, and you have a mobilized, highly active 1/3 of this country who thinks he should have a blank check. We have absolutely no reason whatsoever to believe that all of those factors in conjunction couldn't seriously destroy this country. That number is still entirely too high. It is a cult. I don't believe that the Supreme Court will uphold Donald Trump's presidential immunity, but the fact that it's a question and the fact that Donald Trump's attorneys are seriously trying to make the case is insane. It's unpatriotic. It's un-American. It's dangerous. They don't deserve the benefit of the doubt. And they certainly, none of them, deserve your vote in November because you can't trust a single damn elected Republican to do the right thing when it comes to Trump. And that's why you should vote blue in November, every November, no matter who. And let me know what you think in the comments.